Welcome to the NHL 94 podcast, part of the CBP Media Network. This podcast is dedicated to the greatest game ever developed, where I will talk about the development of the game, tournaments and matches, our stories about NHL 94, the people that make up the NHL 94 community, the games won, lost, and the chirps that need to be heard around the world. Hello, 16-bit hockey fans. Welcome to yet another edition of the NHL 94 podcast. And today we'll be doing a deep dive into the Adams division for the SNES. And this is going to be fun. I'm not too familiar with the this side of things. I'm more of a Genesis guy, so I'm going to be learning. Hopefully you too will be learning as well. But with that being said, we have Bob Kodalski and the professor coming on. So how are you guys?
Good, man.
Doing well. How are you?
All right. I want to thank you once again for taking the time for doing this. Without your help, I would just be like a boat without a rudder. I would just be floating, doing whatever I had to do. Either way, let's dive right deep into this guy. And I want to do just a quick overview of the division because we have Boston, Buffalo, Hartford, Montreal, Ottawa, and Quebec. Some interesting teams to say the least. But Professor, I want to hear your thoughts about these six teams. What do you think about them?
You know, I mean, every division has some not so stellar teams, but when you think about the ones that are kind of workable, there's a lot of high-end skill in this division. There's probably there's definitely top 2-3 players in the game that just live in this division. And like pretty much every team, I would say like minus Ottawa, has somebody that you can really lean on to kind of get things done. So there's good talent in this like in this division, like very top tier stuff. So like it's like a lot of these teams are really fun to use.
Bob, over to you. He kind of trashed Ottawa there, so you got to have some rebuttal. What are your thoughts on this division?
Well, it's the inaugural season Ottawa, so I'm fine with that. He kind of nailed it. I mean, nothing much to add. This division has a couple killers in terms of elite players. Boston's got a couple of them. Buffalo as well, and most of the other teams have kind of a go-to guy. So it's a fun division and one that I'm pretty familiar with, being my hometown Ottawa division. I feel like I've seen Ottawa play Buffalo 2 million times, too many times. But
a lot of good games between those two teams in real life.
Yeah, lots of good ones. The brawls and the goalie fights and whatnot.
Well, let's dive right into this. Do the Boston Bruins first, and Bob Kodalski. I want to hear your thoughts of this. How would you build a line, the pros and cons of the Bruins? The floor is yours.
Right on. So the Bruins are always mentioned, I find, with Pittsburgh as kind of the two top teams in the game in their own elite tier. But in my opinion, Boston is clearly the best, actually. I think they have the edge in a couple different areas. So, like up front, this is really my favorite forward group as a whole. Cam Neely is pretty much my favorite player in the game, probably the best power forward. I mean, arguably, you got Lindros Lemieux up there as well, but he's definitely a top 5 player in the game. And that's more of a feeling than anything. Like when you compare him to Lemieux, I have a preference for Neely just because of, I guess, his hitting. I feel like he's just got that extra jam. And then Oates is just so solid, and he's pretty unique in that he has, I think, the highest combined awareness, offensive and defensive awareness of any forward. So he's kind of all over the ice getting involved. He's also the best skating forward on Boston as well. And with that right shot, I like throwing him on the left side, as we've talked about. You know, you get the stick on the middle of the ice and better for picking corners and whatnot. Ruzicka, I've mentioned him before as well as kind of an underrated guy. He's kind of in elite company if you look at his combination of massive size along with good stick handling and a decent shot. He's one of a handful of big power forwards that has a bit of skill as well. So he's kind of a perfect complement to Neely and Oates. Some guys prefer Joey Juneau there. If you want a little bit more agility, you can throw him in as well. So it's kind of a perfectly balanced forward group, and you have that elite talent. So it's really nice. And then on D, you got to swap in Wesley for Sweeney. Got to say right off the bat, there's no reason why you should have Don Sweeney in there. I don't think Wesley's kind of well above average as a D man with pretty good size and great mobility and good puck skills as well. So he's the perfect partner, I think, for Ray Bourque, who's just head and shoulders above all other defensemen in the game. It's easy to forget that he has a 5-5 shot, right? 5 power, 5 accuracy, which is wild for a D man. But even without that shot, he still has unreal size, skating, awareness, and hitting. Like, he's just head and shoulders the best. In my opinion, like, forwards are much more valuable than defensemen, like if you're drafting. But if it weren't for that, Bourque would easily be like top 3 player in the game. But in terms of drafting, he's got to go like top 10. So I guess we got to talk about goalie as well. In net, some people like to put John Blue in there over Moog. I think he actually has kind of the better ratings overall. However, Moog is lighter with I think a bit more agility. So, you know, I usually just leave Moog in there, just biased towards the starters that are in the game. So overall, just really well constructed starting lineup. The only thing, if you had to say they're lacking something, it's maybe like a real speedster. Like Oates can skate, Bourque can skate well in terms of agility. Does speed like above 4 really matter? Not so sure. So I mean, it's a pretty perfect team, and I would take them against anyone.
Yeah,
Professor.
I would agree. Yeah, like before really thinking about it, I would have always said Pittsburgh was the best team. But then watching people play with Boston, kind of examining the ratings in a way that, you know, I didn't do when I was a 13-year-old. I think it's pretty clear now that like Boston is a clear number 1. Yeah, I would agree. Like Neely is like, even for the numbers, like a 4 agility, 4 speed is sort of like, you know, it's good, but it's not elite. But the combination of everything else, like his size, his checking, and, you know, like for me, I really value the defensive ability of a center, and so he checks all the boxes there. Like Bob said, though, minus like any elite speed, but like the thing about this team is that they're so well balanced. So if you know how to move the puck with your players, then you don't really need any kind of breakout speed because everybody can handle the puck. And I don't know, it doesn't seem like you know, passes are crisp. I don't know. It's sort of like a feel that, you know, that you have with a team like this. But yeah, the Bourque is ridiculously good. Like you don't really notice how important a defender is or how impactful a defender is until you like play with like a Ray Bourque and you're like, wow, you know, because he'll slam anybody. Like he'll knock anyone down, and then he'll skate up the ice and like dominate if you let him. Like I don't really play offense with my defense, so I think that like all the elite ability there is sort of wasted on me because I just do a lot of stuff with my forwards, you know, once you get into the zone. But just from a pure defensive standpoint, like you just feel so confident that like no matter what's going to happen in your zone, like Bourque. So you just need to know, like, get your defense control. You know exactly what, you know, L or R to pick, so that like you're just using him when you're in D. But yeah, like same thing. Wesley needs to be in there. I don't know about Ruzicka. I don't know. Like I've had some like bad experiences with using him. And Bob's smiling. Like, I'm not sure if, like, because he can be pretty hot or cold, right? Like he can't hit for a lick. I don't know. For somebody who has like a 10 weight, he doesn't seem to really do much in terms of like using that. Like, I think he might take a hit okay, but I don't know. Like, when I've played with him, it's sort of like, I don't know. I'll swap him for Juno pretty quickly if for some reason like he's acting up. But yeah, generally, like, just because of Neely, Bork, like the combo of everybody, this is the team to choose if you ever have the option. Yeah.
Sorry, did you want to say something, Bob? I don't want to interrupt you.
Oh, I'm just thinking about Ruzicka and how much I like him. And
oh yeah,
I think he can hit. I mean, even though the two checking, I find just the size and the skating, he can get the momentum and be a bit of a wrecking ball on the forecheck and get in the dirty areas. But I see you have him as a starter, so I mean, I agree with that. And then if he's not working out for you, yeah, you can always throw Juno in there.
Bob hits better than anybody, so I just don't know. I think I just don't know how to use the guy.
More than anyone. I don't know if I hit better than anyone.
So you both are set. It looks like that Juno may be the first guy off the bench on the forward ranks, but on defense, is Sweeney the first guy you guys are going to take on, or Featherstone just because he's heavier and better checker?
I would go with Sweeney just because with the 4 stick handling, that means that he's reliable with the puck. The other two, unless I don't know, like unless you're playing Philly and you can't hit Lindros for some reason, then you might go and just use them just for straight hitting. But they're not going to contribute at all, and you can't pass to them at all, or else you're going to turn the puck over. So no, Sweeney would be the first one, but you'd only really bring him in if someone's hurt. Right, like I don't think there's any reason why Sweeney would be in other than
penalty problem.
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah, I'd bring Sweeney in, especially if you still had Bork, because Bork is just such an anchor. I'd give Sweeney a shot, and probably even if it was Bork that was out, I'd try Sweeney Wesley and see how it goes. So, totally agree.
I'm disappointed you didn't say Shaw, Bob, because the Ottawa connection there, but. Hey, I guess
I don't know what the Ottawa connection is there. If you're thinking of Bradshaw, I don't know, but
my bad, wrong Shaw, my bad.
No, but I think David Shaw actually comes in maybe on the PK if one of your defensemen takes a penalty. Don't quote me on that, but he does end up on the ice once in a while, and then pretty quickly you're like, who is this guy?
What is this?
Get him off, please.
All right, so we'll transition over to Buffalo next, and Professor, you could lead us off with this team. It's a mid-tier team, high-end player. What else can we say about them?
Well, I think that they're underrated for me again, only because like if you think about the forwards, first of all, you've got McGillney, who is, I would argue, he's probably the best player in the game. Just thinking about the elite skating, is he the only guy that's a 6 agility, 6 speed?
I think you're right.
I don't know if there's anybody else like that. Like, he's pretty solid in terms of the weight. Like, his weight 7 is it hits the minimum threshold for being able to handle yourself. But like the stick handling, the passing, the shot accuracy is really high. Like, he dominates. Like, he's skating circles around everybody. Definitely moving him to the center is really important. Again, like, because with that speed, he's a wrecking ball too. So he's underrated in terms of the hits. So he does everything. So he is, bar none, for me, the best player in the game. Like, when I've ever play a lines on league, and I'll pick Buffalo whenever I can, just because when you're playing in a lines on league, you really only need like you can play your first line for probably 4 out of the 5 minutes. You just need to give them like a breather for a minute in between a period in a 5-minute game. And so McGillney can be on the ice for a lot of it. And something that's not put in here is the endurance. So when you're playing in a lines on league, they're going to get tired. And I think all 3 of these forwards have really high endurance. So they can, their energy doesn't go down as quickly. But anyway, like LaFontaine, little bit on the small side, but again, like with him and Howard both having a 5 agility, like this team skates. So there's a lot of amazing things you can do on offense with these 3. When you go down to defense, this is where I guess it brings them down in terms of the tier. But again, I mean, as long as your defensemen are just playing defense, then that's really all they need to do. Like Schmelik is huge. His stick handling is a little bit low, so you can't count on him to do a whole lot for you, but he'll knock anybody down. I like to have Svoboda in just because he's the most skilled defenseman. And like, even though you're giving up the size, you just need to know to, trip check and just, if he's the guy that's, last man in, on D, like you just need to like hook or do something. He might not hit anybody. You just got to play smart with him. But so maybe the defense is really not the greatest there. That brings them down a notch. But I mean, I think it's the forwards more than compensate. And then with the goalies, you've got Grant Fuhr, who's probably, I'd say, like top 5 goalie in the game. Not that super matters. Sometimes people put in Hasek there only because he will eventually become one of the greatest goalies ever, but right now he's just a bench riding nobody. But yeah, I mean, overall, I don't think they deserve tier 3. Like if we did the tiers again, like I would probably move them up a notch, just only because, like, again, if nothing else, McGillney is unstoppable.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if I would move them up. I agree McGillney's the best player in the game, and he can hit despite his size and everything with that skating. But I find LaFontaine and Howard Chuck, their shot accuracy can hurt you. Obviously it's all about McGillney, but if for whatever reason he's off or he's in the box or getting injured or whatever, you're kind of screwed, because LaFontaine and Howard Chuck, they're more complementary players, I would say. Like obviously they have amazing agility, stick handling, passing, but that's what you want in like a setup guy, right? They're kind of missing like that finishing ability. That said, some people have no problem scoring tons of goals with LaFontaine and Howard Chuck. So maybe that's a me problem. But yeah, it's definitely a team that can beat like any other team just on McGillney alone, right? And the defense is not great, but I think like we both agree, we just want our defensemen to kind of stop the rush and then get the puck out, right? Like we're not looking to score a ton and dipsy doodle. So I like Smelik, and then I often put Bodger in for Svoboda just to double up on the big dumb guys back there, because I know I'm not going to be trying to score with them anyways. Yeah, and in terms of skaters up front, like I think like you said, what hurts them is the defense, but also up front, size and shooting ability outside of McGillney is kind of lacking. There's Himalev has decent skills on the bench, but only 3 stick handling, and Bob Sweeney, I find maybe it's only when he's hot, but he can be a really quite a good player. He's 9 weight. He's got 5 defensive and 4 check and only 2 speed, but somehow he doesn't feel that slow, probably because the 4 agility. And then I don't know, maybe that that 2 rating bug comes in that McMarcus was talking about that you had on.
Yeah.
But Sweeney sometimes seems like a really solid player, at least to skate and hit guys and get the puck. So yeah, McGillney's a beast, and Buffalo. I think they're an upper middle sort of tier. So I think they're right where they are, but they can definitely compete and win against any other team on any given day.
It's true that like if McGillney's out, I've never played with him when he's cold. At least I don't remember. Like with the 6 agility, 6 speed, like he's always, I don't know. To me, I feel like even on a bad day, like his bad days are everybody's good days. I don't know. But I hear you. Like after McGillney, the drop off is pretty significant. Like, and you don't really have too many guys on the bench to really step up. So it's true. Like if you knock McGillney out of the game, and you're playing against them, like you've just gotten the upper hand, right? Hard.
That would be huge.
Yeah.
That was interesting what you said about endurance. I never really look at endurance, but when we did a Lions League, I was Ottawa, and those guys were gassed after like 30 seconds or so. Like I was switching lines constantly, and by the end of the period, they were all low. So yeah, I guess the better players must have better endurance. Mm-hmm. So yeah, maybe that's something to keep in mind if we do that again. Buffalo might be a good one.
They're a good one.
No love for Randy Wood. Nobody listed him here, man. If you're knocking out McGillney, why not put him in there with that speed? And
that's true. That's true. But he's like a 6, isn't he? He's a 6 speed, but he's like a 1 of like he's terrible otherwise.
Yeah, it's such a huge disparity between the two.
I think his agility is 1, right? I don't think he's even on this chart here right now, but like it's ridiculous. Yeah,
we could add him in, but like I think I've tried him because the speed and you don't really notice the speed because probably the agility is affecting his acceleration, and then he's just kind of bad all around.
When you play with him, you either press up or press down. There's no left or right. That's the best way to play with him. So, all right, let's go over to Hartford. And I gotta just say, the best theme song in the game. I absolutely love listening. Is it the Brass Bonanza? Is that what it's called? Yeah, so I love it. Anyways, Bob, start us off with this very low tier team and how you build lines.
So I'd say that the Whale is definitely in that bottom tier, right above the expansion teams with like with Dallas and I don't know, maybe the Islanders there. They're kind of the opposite of Dallas in the sense that where Dallas has some dynamic talent and Mike Modano up front, and then pretty bad defense. Hartford has quite a good defense, I would say, good deep pairing, but they lack any kind of dynamic ability up front. So like Sanderson and Verbeek, they're perfectly fine. 6 and 7 weight. They're kind of very average. 6 and 7 weight, mostly 4 ratings where it counts. But neither of them are really game breakers. And the real issue is that third forward on Hartford. Mm-hmm. There's no clear choice because they're all pretty bad. Mm-hmm. None of them have strong skating or shot, so it's sort of a Sophie's choice between guys like Castles and Janssens and Poulin or Cron or I don't know who else. I usually just go with Castles. He's the starter. So
you love going with the starters, don't you?
Yeah, sure.
When they get all the picture, right? They got the picture.
They have their own picture. That's right. But the defense is definitely the strength of the team. Zarli Zalapsky, rest in peace. He's probably a top 10 D-man. He's got 10 weight and 5'4" skating. I think the only other D-man with that size and skating is actually Bork with the 5'4" skating and 10 weight. And Weinrich is quite a nice sort of complement there with 10 weight again and the 3'4" skating. So he can still move and with size. Doesn't have much skill and the stick handling isn't really there, but nobody's perfect. Adam Bird, I think, has 4 stick handling on the bench if you want to go that route. Mm-hmm. Burke and Net, I think he's got good ratings, but one of the bigger, heavier goalies. So I don't know, he's a bit slow, maybe post to post sort of thing. So yeah, it's an interesting team, but I find they're kind of lacking that offensive pop, like compared to other teams that you might face. Like the Islanders have Turgeon, Dallas has Modano. So
Hmm.
you probably don't want to pick Hartford in a matchup unless you're confident you can work with Verbeek and Sanderson.
Yeah. Exactly. It's funny, like they have an overabundance of good defense. Like I like Adam Burt. Like he is a very solid D man, like with the four stick handling. Again, like you can trust uh him behind. And that seven weight is not bad. Um so he's serviceable. Like if Weinrich isn't again, like if he's okay and if he's on, like with that three stick handling, like if he's bobbling the puck, like I go right away, like I'll switch to Burt like right away. But if Weinrich is fine, like that 10 weight, you're right, does do wonders on the back end for both of them. So yeah, defense is definitely their strength here. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. They have two serviceable forwards, and then that third one, you're basically, you're starting. Let's say you start with Castles, or it doesn't matter who. Like if they're not good, then you just go down the list, and so you're editing your lines like you know, like every whistle until you find somebody who's going to be okay for the rest of the game. Yeah, it's tough slogging. Like with when I'll play with Hartford, like I'll probably try to score with Zalapsky, just being the most skilled guy that's on the ice there, which leaves you obviously very vulnerable, like on a fast break or whatever. So yeah, I mean it belongs in a bottom tier, just because it's tough to score goals with this team. It can be incredibly frustrating. Like Zalapsky is the only really saving grace.
Is there any matchup that you like that you are playing as Hartford? Like, is there any team that you're up against in Tier 6 that you're saying, yeah, I prefer Hartford over the other team?
Oh.
Not for me, no. I don't think so. I think they're probably at the bottom. I mean, maybe Dallas. Maybe
Yeah,
Dallas because Dallas frustrates me so much.
because they are, like you said, like the exact opposite. So like it depends on how you feeling. Like if you're like, okay, I don't want to give up goals today, then go with Hartford, because and then hope that the forwards are on that game. But if you are looking for like a 12-10 game or something, then yeah, go like go to Dallas and just go for shootout.
Yeah, I think that EA did Hartford dirty by giving them the low home ice advantage with that song. Like that should be something that could pump up the players and elevate them to at least a notch or two, man. So I gotta talk to the people at EA about this. That's pretty bad. Anyways, let's move on. Hartford, Professor, you're up on this. Sorry, not Montreal. My bad. Montreal's up next. So, Professor, you're up on this team here.
Yeah.
Patrick Waugh, what can we say about this
Well,
team?
there you go. Sure, let's start there. Patrick Waugh. He's I don't even know who's the best. Is it him or is it Belfour? I don't really. They're both great. But again, what does that mean in NHL 94? Probably not a whole lot. Maybe like a little bit of a psychological confidence booster that I feel like they might save you the odd goal, maybe. But again, like we're gonna need the whatever the detectives of the code to really let us know, like, does the goalie make a difference? It probably doesn't. But the forwards again in this team, like I really like Kirk Muller, although like he's fours across the board, right? Like he's very steady on all of these things with the 9 weight. So he just kind of does everything pretty good. And so with the higher weight, with the pretty good checking, especially having him in the middle really makes sure that at least your D is covered. And with 4 shot, 4 stick handling, 4 everything, he'll do what he needs to do, like in the offensive zone too. I think Bellows is really great too. Like, I don't know, like those numbers don't do him justice, because he seems to be he punches above those numbers. I know like Dangler likes Brian Bellows a lot. Like, I like Brian Bellows a lot. Again, I don't know why. But he seems to take a check pretty well. And and again, with like 4s mostly and things that really matter, pretty solid too. I have been thinking more about swapping in John LeClaire to start. More times than not, you'll need to swap him out, but he's like a bit of a wild card in that with that 11 weight and with 4 speed, he can do a whole lot of damage. But then that stick handling is what usually keeps him on the bench. But if he can take passes that game, like he is, he can be a difference maker. And also especially if he's glitch fast, then he's like a poor man's Mario Lemieux at that point. So I'll start him and I'll see how it goes. If he's ice cold, then you switch him out, and you can go with LeBeau or even Denny Savard. Even that's probably LeBeau. He starts, right? Or no? Does he? I can't recall if he starts. No, he doesn't. Yeah. So I'll go with them. I'll go with LeBeau probably. Serviceable defenseman. I keep Schneider in there and Desjardins. Again, like nothing super special, solid in terms of their stick handling. Pretty good ability to maybe do a little bit in the offensive zone, but again, like that's just a bonus if you have to. But they're good. They're pretty solid. And then Patrick Waugh, when he's not angry, he's a fantastic goalie. So yeah, pretty solid team all around.
Yeah, I don't know who's better, Balfour or Raw, but like you said, maybe he gets you an extra save with his elite skills there. I agree with what you said. I mean, Montreal kind of reminds me of Calgary in that they have a ton of forward depth, but no one like super elite. I do like Kirk Muller. He's a bit of a Trevor Linden clone. He's a lefty version of Trevor Linden. And Bellows is basically Owen Nolan as well. They have almost the exact same ratings. So I kind of think of them that way. And then that third forward, I never know. Like there's so many choices, right? Like Donfus, Savard, LeBeau, and Leclerc. And Leclerc is enticing. Whenever I've tried him, though, he's just like the puck is just like bouncing off of him. On defense, Odeline I put in there for a bit of muscle and defensive presence, but that comes down to preference. Schneider's perfectly good as well. And I guess Montreal is a very average kind of middle of the pack team in my mind, and they don't really excite me in any way. I'd have a hard time picking them over most other middle range teams, but when you really look at it, they are definitely a solid team from top to bottom.
Nobody picked Red Light Rasico over Roy. I mean, he's got the coolest name, Red Light. So I don't know.
He has big shoes to fill, unfortunately.
Yeah.
If the red light meant stop, maybe.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
I had no idea. Odeline had 0 shot accuracy. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah,
what does that even mean?
That's right. I think that's like a 25-ish.
Yeah,
it's basically 0. Yeah.
So good luck keeping it in the arena. Never mind just hitting the net. It's don't be trying to score with him. I'm just shocked that they're not shocked, but it's interesting that they're a tier 3, maybe tier 4 team. They won the cup this year.
Yeah.
So I guess they're greater than the sum of their parts. But
Yeah, exactly. I mean, apparently they do play with line changes in the real NHL playoffs, so that probably helped them, right? Because
That must
they
be
have
it.
that depth.
They do have depth. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And
yeah, very
what
true.
was it, 11, 10 or 11 shutouts that playoff by Waugh? So he just like stood on his head. Or
And
overtime wins? 10 or 11
and
overtime, not shutouts, overtime wins, sorry.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and Desjardins scored a bunch of goals too. I think he scored a hat trick in one game in the finals as well. So they were getting goal scoring from even their defensemen. But you know what? Let's go to a team. Bob, you got to talk about Ottawa. Try to make chicken salad out of this one because this is gonna be fun. But I'm happy to see Bob Kadelsky is starting on both of your lineups on left wing. So I'm happy he's there. So yeah.
Yeah. This is such an elite team. So it's really kind of a middle of the pack expansion team. I don't think they're the worst team in the game. I don't think that they're the best expansion team. They have some things going for them, especially up front, I would say, because you do have those two large forwards with 9 weight. Kudelski, he's also got the 3-4 shot, and Turgeon is quite a good skater with the 4-4 skating. So size and skating, that's kind of nice. Also nice that one is a righty, one's a lefty, so you can put whichever one you want at center. And as mentioned, I like BobK on the left wing. I like to work a lot on the left wing, and then he's got that offside shot as well. The third forward, I do usually go with Jamie Baker because he's a starter and he's got the profile picture.
Yeah.
But also he has the 3-3 shot, which on an expansion team is actually good. As an alternative, I think Mark Lamb is the next go-to guy. For whatever reason, he seems like he can move really well. Probably the combination of the 4-3 skating and his size. So I think Lamb is worth a look. And I have played with them on line change league and had Lamb playing there on my first line, and he did quite well. After that, it's kind of a crapshoot. Like, I don't know who you go for, like Boschman or I don't know, Lazaro, Hull, Peluso. I don't know. They're all bad. So you could swap them in and look for someone on a hot streak. But, by the time you find someone good, it's probably too late. On defense, McIver, I think he's got to start just with his 3-3 skating and his 3-2 shot, which are decent on an expansion team. He kind of got shafted in his ratings, I would say. He had 17 goals and 63 points, leading the entire team in scoring that year.
Wow.
So sucks for him. And on the other side, you have Bradshaw, but when I played with line changes, Darren Rumble, for whatever reason, did a good job. He's really quite solid. Like, he's got decent size, and the 2-2 skating, there must be some glitch bug factor happening there half the time because he wasn't too bad. So I've got Rumble, and he's got a cool name too. So I got Rumble in there, but you can't really go wrong with Shaw. And it's worth noting that Brad Marsh is on the team as well. He's an 11 weight, so you got the heavyweight there. No helmet. He was an all-star that year along with Sidorkovich, and I think he scored a goal in the all-star game.
He did score a goal in the All-Star game. I remember that.
Yeah, I will always remember that too. Some people start Bertiom over Sidorkovich. He does have, I guess, a really low weight and similar rating, so maybe he's a little bit quicker moving. And yeah, overall, I guess I'd say the biggest weakness of the team is the defense, because I think up front they're actually kind of nice with the combo of Kudelski and Turgeon. I might be a little bit biased, but I think in the expansion teams they're a little bit underrated. I think they're sort of upper middle pack in terms of the expansion teams.
I hate this team.
No sugarcoating it.
No, it might be, it might be the Toronto bias coupled with Bob's love for his hometown team. But I hate this team. There's nothing endearing about this team. Like, if you think about San Jose, at least they have Pat Falloon, who's kind of okay. When you think about Anaheim, They've got I'm blanking. What's the
Kasatonov?
Kasatonov, right? Kasatonov is someone you can count on. Like I can't think of anybody here that is gonna do anything of any consistency. Like if you had to play this game a few times with Ottawa, like you have no clue like who you can rely on. And by the time you figure it out, like Bob said, it's game over.
Bob, you can't take this sitting down, man. You got to fight back. Like there's got to be.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I think I'm biased.
No, I mean, yeah, it's. I think for me, I don't think I'd pick anybody. I think I'd pick anybody over them. I think like I'd pick Anaheim over them. I think I'd probably even pick Tampa over them. Yeah,
Florida
San Jose over them. Florida, yeah, I'd probably go Florida.
Oh no.
Yeah. We'll wait for that. We'll wait for that show. But yeah, I feel like they're bigger, aren't they? I feel like they've got some big guys over in Florida. But anyway, I don't know. The few times that I've had to play with Ottawa, it's just been a excruciatingly terrible experience. So I would rather not have to play with Ottawa. There's nothing. I don't know.
Cool uniforms.
Sure. Okay. I'll give you that.
Bob, I have to ask you then, is there any team in Tier 7 that you would prefer to take over Ottawa?
I guess when we talked about Anaheim, I for whatever reason, I kind of like Anaheim. I think it's the size and Kasatonov. I like Anaheim. I would definitely take Anaheim over Ottawa. I don't know about any other team.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, this is a tough one to make anything out of. So,
but if you got a good feel for them, right? If you have a good feel, I mean, that goes a long way. But just from an objective standpoint.
But I mean, in tournament play, anytime I've ever tried picking expansion teams, I lose.
Yeah.
Because you end up as a road team, and like team expansion is just like you can't pass the puck.
Yeah.
At home you have more of a chance, I guess.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna play with Ottawa, you might as well play with Brad Marsh. I can't see why you wouldn't want to. Like, come on, guys, start.
He's not bad. 11 weight
and no helmet.
Yeah,
come on, man. That's a huge whatever. All right, let's go to a pretty skilled team and Professor Quebec.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're all right. I mean, they're nothing. I'd say they're nothing special. Like a lot of the players are just pretty. I don't know. They're pretty pedestrian just because of the lack of size. I'd say so. I have Sundin in the middle only because I mean, you can either kind of go with him or with Sakic in the middle, but Sundin's a little bit bigger. So maybe we'll give that edge to him, although he does not hit. None of these guys hit. So that's the big problem with these guys. Like they with this team is that they are a pure finesse team that doesn't have like enough finesse to just be a finesse team. So with the 4-4 agility, speed for the forwards, again, nobody is like road runnering the arena. You're just kind of hoping that you make some good plays. You got to move the puck more creatively than trying to just carry it. So yeah, I mean they're pretty okay all around. So they're not a poor team. They're just they're okay. They're okay up front, but nothing special. Steve Duchesne is a underrated defenseman. I'd say he's probably one of the better ones with the 4-4 agility, speed, 8 size, which is pretty impressive. The 4 stick handling too. So he's got a lot of skill, and so don't sleep on him. And I mean, it's a toss up, I'd say, between Lecision and Tatarinov. I would probably give, I don't know, like the size is the tipping point, but actually, I think Tatarinov actually, yeah, his stick handling is a little bit better. So actually, I might just switch it up. I'd probably go with Tatarinov actually, and then Hextall is not bad. I mean, he'll do. He's not going to hurt you. Yeah, so I think it's just sort of like your run of the mill, okay team. Like I would put, I would go Montreal over Quebec any day. But yeah, I mean, they'll do.
Yeah, I like this team. Like, this is the team that I remember when I was a teenager playing this and jotting down my stats for a 7-game playoff run and watching Sakic score like 200 points or whatever, and I'd do the little tallies. But yeah, I totally agree. They're kind of a finesse team with not enough finesse. Because when you look at their checking and their size up front, it's really quite apparently lacking. I really like Sundin with the right shot. That's the 4 power with 5 accuracy. He's quite a great player. I find, like, in draft leagues, but I prefer him as a complementary, like left winger, for example. Sakic, he's got good ratings, and like I love the player in real life, but I just I don't know. He doesn't do it for me. I think it's the size maybe. Lacking the hitting, and then he's not like overly fast. So he has a great shot, but I just find it hard to kind of utilize it. I put Owen Nolan in. I just find he's good coming off that right wing. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with him. He cost me an STL. He took an interference, I think, in game 7 overtime when I had like the game winner on my stick. Yeah, lots of depth. Similar to like Montreal, Calgary, like tons of forward depth there. Like Kamensky and Ricci are super solid off the bench. And yeah, I put Lesishin. I'm not even going to explain why I put Lesishin there. You guys probably know why I put him there over Tatarinov. He's the starter. But he does have the size and I guess slightly better skating. So just, as what you want in a defenseman, just stop the puck. So the Tatarinov 5-shot power doesn't really entice me too much. So yeah, kind of a middle range team, but not so much my style, as my game has matured since I was just a young guy, because I need more size and checking. So yeah, not my favorite team.
I know that Angry J, I'm pretty sure he's the guy that was saying that Duchesne in the Genesis version is always in the box for whatever reason. Is he guilty of that also in the SNES version?
I don't think so, right?
Never noticed that, no.
Okay, so he's a delinquent in Genesis, and he's a serviceable player, at the very least.
He's very good, actually. Like in draft leagues, like I think that he ought to go probably a little bit higher than he does. He's got good numbers for a defenseman.
Underrated. Is that what you're trying to say?
I'd say so. Yeah, I think he's in the upper tier, like on the lower end of the upper tier of defensemen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like a little bit. No, Brad Marsh. I like a little bit more size in my D-man, but definitely has good ratings. I just find, like, with the combination of Lesishin or Tatarinov, the D as a pairing is pretty average, I would say. So it kind of brings the team down a little bit, but the real issue is just like that size up front.
Yeah, and then the low checking.
Yeah. It's noticeable.
Yeah, it really is.
A lot of 1s and 2s up there, and nothing higher than 3 up front. It's pretty. Yeah.
You put him with Boston, oh, it's a massacre.
Oh, but that's such a mismatch, though, right? Like,
I know, but you know what I mean. Like with Bork and Neely, it's like never mind just the skill, but just the weight and the checking. That's not fun.
You probably see a few injuries in that game.
And which team are, like, you guys mentioned Montreal as an opponent? Like, which team would you say they suck against, and which team would they be dominant against in their tiers?
It's kind of a crapshoot. Like
Yeah.
you never really know, right? The swings in terms of like hot and cold and home and away, and depending who you're playing and that sort of thing. Like I wouldn't say they're going to be dominant against anyone, but I wouldn't say they're going to get destroyed by anyone other than like those sort of elite bigger teams that we mentioned, like Boston. You know, they probably have a hard time against Boston, LA, Detroit, because Detroit is an elite team that also, you know, sort of has some speed and hitting as well and size. So yeah, I don't know who I'd take. They do get matched up with Montreal a lot, and like I don't know who I would take in that matchup anymore.
Flip a coin.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd pick Montreal 100 times out of 100 on that one, just with the size. Like the I think the skill is pretty on par, but the size advantage that Montreal has, I think, tips the balance there.
Yeah, and probably getting Montreal at home too. I'm pretty sure they have a good home advantage.
Yeah, they probably do. Yeah, I think they do. Yeah, they do. Yeah,
it's high. Yeah. Well, gents, we wrapped up another division. The Adams is now in the book, so just one more left. The Patrick, I believe, is left. So this has been great. I want to thank you so much for coming on, because like I said at the start of the show, without your help, there's no way I could do the SNES version of these lines. So thanks so much for coming on, guys. Just want to express my gratitude for all your help.
Anytime.
And
yeah, our pleasure.
Yeah, perfect. So with that, take care. We'll be back at this again very soon. Keep your controller plugged in and stick on the ice.